There's no shortage of talent among male seiyuu when it comes to singing. And on episode 60, you've come through with good suggestions of young seiyuu talents that have singing skills well worth checking out. With that being said, you and I are back for a special episode all about young seiyuu talents that are dazzling everyone with their singing skills. Let's kick off this episode of Seiyuu Lounge. Welcome to Seiyuu Lounge. I am your host Vanessa, and today's topic is 7 rising stars dazzling with their singing skills in 2021, Part 2. After episode 60 aired, some of you left suggestions of seiyuu that have been impressing with their singing skills. And if you have been following the podcast, you may remember that early in 2021, I mentioned the various young seiyuu that were impressing me and that I'd love for them to have a solo career. It just so happens that I completely forgot to mention one of those seiyuu, so on top of your suggestions, I also bring the seiyuu I forgot to mention. Please feel free to keep sharing with everyone in the comments on YouTube who are the young seiyuu 30 years or younger that have been impressing you with their singing skills. Who do I consider a rising star? Seiyuu that are 30 years old, some are rookies, others already have a couple of years in the seiyuu industry, therefore seiyuu that are only now starting to stand out in the industry, but are still young as per seiyuu and music industry's standards. Some of these seiyuu already have solo debuts, others, let's be honest, I wish they already had gotten the opportunity to do so, or in the case it is still too early, at least are thinking about making a solo debut in the long run. Without further ado, let's cover another batch of incredibly talented singers that either have impressed you in 2021 or that have impressed me, but I ended up forgetting to talk about them. First off, it's Yuya Hirose. Yuya Hirose was the big rising star that I forgot to mention on episode 60. And this was a big miss on my end, especially taking into account how impressive he is as a singer and how solid he has been in 2021. Yuya Hirose has a beautiful voice. In a way, I believe that among the new generation of seiyuu, Yuya Hirose is part of an exclusive group of unique tenors with a twist that includes Shun Horie and Shoya Chiba. Hirose is a tenor with a solid high range and is incredibly smooth in his delivery. Really, his performances feel like he's gliding through the lyrics. It's a unique feeling. He can add some raspiness to his performances, like he does for Zul's songs in order to sound edgy. But he can also be extremely delicate in his delivery, like he does in some of Erosion's songs. Although still extremely young, he was born in 1996. He's been singing at a high level with a good quality and control since 2017. Due to his unique singing tone and technique, he's been a sought-after talent for 2D music projects. Fans will best know him as Zul's center in the Idolish 7 franchise, but he's also got a lot of versatility to him that not only make him excel in pop, EDM, R&B, but also rock, with Erosion in the Carnelian Blood franchise and even Eurobeat music as the leader of Himmel in the Fabulous Night franchise. Versatility, reliability, and the quality that few his age have make Yuya Hirose one of the most exciting talents and certainly a seiyuu that has been impressing me a whole lot in 2021. Next one up is a suggestion by Grecia Delgado. Takuma Nagatsuka made his solo debut in October with the single Dance With Me. He's actually made an unexpected solo debut, as at the moment this episode was recorded, he's neither a widely popular seiyuu nor is as active in 2D music projects as the seiyuu I've mentioned on episode 60 or even in this episode. Most of you will know him for his work with High Joker in the Idolmaster Sidem franchise, in which during one of the live performances he actually performed the ballad on the piano, catching everyone by surprise. He's also active as part of the Seiyu unit M4 alongside Daiki Hamano, Kohei Amasaki and Taichi Chikawa. Although highly underrated, the Seiyu unit has a trendy dance pop sound with powerful vocals on top. This is the group in which I believe Nagatsuka has shown the most. He's recently joined Lost Eden in the Visual Prison franchise and can also be found as a member of Guitar Seiyu alongside Toshinari Fukamachi and Taichi Chikawa. Nagatsuka is also a singer with a tenor range. I certainly would love to hear how high he can go and how comfortably can he handle those high notes before I can have a concrete opinion about his singing or even how wide is his tenor range. From what I've heard so far, all the groups I mentioned previously, I believe he's got a solid, comfortable tenor range, albeit slightly limited. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes his performances lack a certain shine to them that he'd have if more of his range was used. He also struggles a bit with high notes not sounding as clear as you'd want those. Of course, those things can be honed, and you can more than expect him to improve. I believe that now, with his experience and ambitions as a solo artist, he'll certainly improve and grow into a consistent singer that will impress a lot of people. Of the good points I've gathered, I can say that he can harmonize with others, Seiyu with relative ease, is comfortable on stage, and although this is not necessarily about singing, is a good dancer. Next one up is a suggestion by commenter Dairok Tenmao Oda Nobunaga. Takeo Otsuka is a name that for many of you won't ring any bells. He's not the most active Seiyu when it comes to 2D music projects, however, he's starting to be picked for a couple of high-profile projects, and he does have a really good voice. The highest profile 2D music project he's a part of is the Idolmaster Sidem franchise as part of Class First, alongside Yuri Ise and Masaya Miyazaki. The trio made their debut in 2021, and at the moment this episode was recorded, they only have one song released. He's also part of Playstyle Seiyu unit signed to Marin Entertainment. He shares vocal duties with Tetsue Sumiya, who I mentioned on episode 60 as a rising talent, as well as Takahide Ishii and Takeru Kikuchi. In 2020 was chosen by Reject as the face and voice of the Fabulous Night franchise. He's part of Chronostasis alongside Yoshihide Sasaki, Shota Oi and Toshiki Masuda. You've got to give credit where it's due. He got the main role in the franchise and within his own group, when he does have 2 stars part of it in Toshiki Masuda and Shota Oi. By now you must be asking yourself, but is he really that good of a singer? Yes. If you take time to check the groups he's a part of, you'll notice that he's a sweet baritone. He's not the type of baritone that goes really low in his range, so don't expect him to visit that range very often. He does have a bit of a high range to himself, which makes it possible to add a lot of color to his performances. His control and technique are genuinely good. He can hold his own as a solo, drive songs forward, or be a reliable support as part of a group. He's got a warm vibrato and can pull off solid, long notes. He's a sleeper among Seiyu fans, but I believe it is a question of time until more people notice him and his singing skills. Ryota Suzuki is another name that should be in the conversation. He was born in 1998 and is one of the rising talents in the Seiyu industry. He's already got a couple of anime roles with some airtime and is starting to make waves in 2D music projects. If you've been following this podcast with some attention, you may have noticed that I often mention Erosion, the 5-vocal rock band part of the Carnelian Blood franchise. Suzuki is part of this band. At the moment this episode was recorded, Ryota Suzuki's only credit in 2D music projects is with Erosion. So what can I tell you about him? He's a warm baritone with a bit of tenor range in him. He's got a lot of power and energy in his performances, so you can always expect him to crank up the tension in whatever song he is performing. He's surprisingly consistent, doesn't make mistakes of any type in his performances, and harmonizes with a lot of ease. Ryota Suzuki is showing a lot of promise, and I believe it will be a question of time before he starts to be a sought-after seiyuu in 2D music projects. Another awesome talent is Chiaki Kobayashi. Just like Ryota Suzuki, he doesn't have many credits in anime, nor in 2D music projects, but is on everyone's radar since Skate the Infinity, The Great Pretender, and Moriarty the Patriot. He's performed the character song for Skate the Infinity and showed how consistent he is. He's a tenor with a bit of baritone range, has a lot of control, can pull off falsetto, and adds a bit of raspiness to his performances. Harmonizations with other singers are not a problem for him, and he can hold his own quite well. In 2021, Kobayashi joined the Live Us franchise as part of the rock band Unknown Order. However, he does not sing for that group. His first steps in 2D music are being taken with Versus Ambivalence franchise 2D audition music project that kicked off in September 2021. The project has released a snippet of Go My Way, song that is being used as the theme song, and Kobayashi shines in it. With the talent that he already has, and given how every year there are dozens of 2D music projects being launched, I think we'll all be hearing more of him in the future. The future certainly is bright for Chiaki Kobayashi. Another young talent that has been impressing a lot of people is Seiichiro Yamashita. Some of you will be saying, but he only raps in anthos. Actually, he does sing a whole lot and is part of other groups, and even within anthos, he ends up singing the chorus with the group. As you can tell, he's best known as one of the members of the unique 2D idol group Anthos. The group has a stellar lineup that includes some of the best singers in the seiyuu industry. You have Kento Ito, Toshiki Masuda, Shunichi Toki, Daiki Hamano, Shun Horie, and Wataru Komada. And in the middle of so much talent, Yamashita stands out. You can count on him as a reliable rapper with a strong flow, and he can sing with the same quality and consistency, adding a lot of flair to his performances. He's also a member of WID, group stemming from the Prepara anime series. He performs alongside Ryo Tsuchida and Tatsuyuki Kobayashi. Yamashita also has performed plenty of character songs in his career, and in 2021 he joined the Live Us franchise as part of the rock band Unknown Order. Unfortunately, he doesn't sing for this band, at least no one knows if there will be solo songs, but he is certainly turning some heads with his talents. Energetic, powerful, consistent, and full of swagger in his performances, Seiichiro Yamashita is a talent that should be on your radar. Wrapping up this episode is another seiyuu with singing chops for days. I'm talking about Ryo Tsuchida. He is part of 81 Produce, so you can already guess his quality as a singer. Still, I'm going to talk about him in more detail. Tsuchida is a baritone with a wide vocal range. He can tap into 4 tenor and 4 bass ranges to pull off unique performances. His singing is warm and robust. He's got a lot of control and is consistent at all times. You can expect him to tackle falsetto and vibrato with ease. He can go for those high notes or absolutely destroy a performance with low, suggestive ones. If you're a fan of 2D music projects, you'll know that Ryo Tsuchida is a member of Knights, one of the most popular groups in the Ensemble Stars franchise. He shares vocal duties with Shintaro Asanuma, Daiki Yamashita, Masami Ito, and Ryo Kitamura. Like Seiichiro Yamashita, Tsuchida is part of the 2D idol group WID. He's also a member of Mosote Ichimo, group comprised of only namely 81 produced talents and stemming from the BL TV show Bokuraku. I'm talking about big-time talents Kento Ito, Yoshiki Nakajima, and Yuki Sakakihara. Recently, he's joined the Versus Ambivalence franchise, so you'll get to listen to his singing pretty soon. Ryo Tsuchida shines time and time again in all of those groups. I'm quite fond of the husky twist he gives to his performances that, allied to his vibrato and natural warm baritone voice, make him quite unique, able to easily stand out in the middle of a group. As far as 81 Produce's talents go, he's massively underrated. Thankfully, he's been on the rise in the past couple of years, something well deserved as he's incredibly talented as a singer. And with this, you and I wrap up another episode about the rising stars dazzling with their singing skills in 2021. Thank you to everyone for your comments about your favorite rising stars among Seiyu. Although I did not feature every suggestion as some didn't fit the under 30 years old restriction I had set in the first part of the episode, which is to say episode 60, you've come through with interesting suggestions. To all of you that didn't catch those suggestions, I welcome you to hop in the comments section of episode 60. Once again, thanks to everyone for participating. Now tell me, what does a Seiyu need to have as a singer to impress you? Is it the voice tone or any particular skills? Let me know in the comments, and remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of Seiyu Lounge. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the Hand That Feeds HQ's weekly Mail Seiyu and music-related content, hit the subscribe button. I'll return next week with another episode of Seiyu Lounge. Thank you for listening and see you guys around.